Borough of Belmar and the Asbury Park Press on September 11, 2014, and notice of this meeting was posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building.
Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence to remember our troops abroad and their families here at home, and also some relatives very close to home. John Walsifer, Rashawn Mallory, and Sue Ann Goss. John and Rashawn are both from Belmar, and Sue Ann was a photographer for the Co-Star who came and covered us. Thank you. Council, please join me, Our first matter of business this evening is a resolution. I'd like to offer this resolution. Resolution appointing Lawrence Kelly as patrolman of the Belmar Police Department with advice and consent of the Second. All in favor? Aye. Wonderful. Mr. Kelly, want to come forward? Put your left hand on the Bible. Right hand up. Repeat after me. I, Lawrence Kelly.
I, Lawrence Kelly,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same,
and to the governments established
to the government and establishment
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially, and justly perform all duties
as
as patrolman of the Belmar Police Department
a patrolman of the Belmar Police Department
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Thanks, a bit heavy.
Before you go, Larry, real fast. Now, everyone knows Larry's already a Class 2. He knows Belmar really well. He used to be a Class 1. He does an outstanding job for us, and he joins a great department with outstanding leadership, our chief, our captains, and our lieutenants. So let's hear it for our entire police.
This has been a long time coming. It's always been a dream of mine to serve my community, and I just want to thank all the people that have helped me get to where I am today. So thank you.
Our next special presentation, every month we have an Employee of the Month, and in this case we're trying to reach back a little bit to the summer months because they're almost gone. It's October 1st already, unfortunately. So we want to bring up one of our outstanding gate attendants. He truly epitomizes what we're looking for on the beachfront. When we talk about having a Disney-like experience, he always has a smile, he's very friendly and very helpful. So let's hear it for our October 2014 Employee of the Month, Frank Lee. me tell you a little bit about Frank. Frank's worked in Belmar for 4 years. Frank has quickly become a Belmar icon and one of the most popular beach gate attendants. Frank is always friendly, helpful, and outgoing, the embodiment of our Disney approach. And the following was sent to us by one of our residents who nominated him. This rarely ever happens, but we had someone actually nominate one of our employees for Employee of the Month. Frank on 4th Avenue just makes our weekend. Our kids look forward to seeing him every weekend when we go to the beach. Frank is part of what makes Belmar such a great place to live and raise my family. Let's hear it for Frank Lee. Frank gets $100 in Belmar bucks to spend anywhere in Belmar. Also gets to have lunch with me. And most importantly, he gets his, he gets a hat from Councilman Dinkley. But most importantly, he gets his picture up on our sign on Route 5.
It's been a pleasure. Before I retired, my niece, Sarah, was the assistant director of Belmar for many summers. And I kept telling her, I said, don't forget Uncle Frankie when he retired. I want to be up there on the boardwalk. And, we had some good advice about knowing to be down at that north end. It's a little quieter down there sometimes. But it's my joy. It truly is my joy. My wife knows I look forward to the summer. I look forward to coming down here. And even the best part of the news is that our house is on the market out in Howell, and we're moving back down here. So, we're part of this community. Our family's all here. I think our son Eric was a police officer. And, my daughter-in-law Renee and Cameron, and everybody's here. So why not come back here? My sister was, So anyway, this is a real surprise. I had no idea. I thought we were here to get my sister here. That's what they told me. So I had no idea. But this is a wonderful place to live, and it's always my joy every summer to be able to look at the beach. So thank you. No idea. No idea.
Great, I didn't know either.
He's the best.
Let's go eat.
Come on, Camo.
Sit up there, next row. Check it out, Jamie. Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is going to be a proclamation read by Janice Keown-Hyper on Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Designating the month of October in each year as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas National Breast Cancer Awareness Month educates women about the importance of early detection for breast cancer. Since NBCAM's inception, mammography use has doubled and breast cancer death rates have declined. Still, many women do not utilize mammography at regular intervals. the fact that mammography is the best available method of detecting breast cancer changes that may be cancer long before physical symptoms can be seen or felt, and that breast cancer deaths could decline further if all women aged 40 and older receive mammograms at regular intervals. Whereas October 2014 marks the 30th anniversary of National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which is dedicated to increasing awareness of breast cancer issues, especially the importance of early detection. And now, therefore, be it resolved, the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Belmar, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, do hereby proclaim October as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. All women and their families in the Borough of Belmar, County of Monmouth, and the State of New Jersey are urged to get facts about mammography and breast cancer detection.
Thank you. Next is our workshop discussion. First topic of discussion for the council is on ordinance 2014-01. This ordinance has recently been subject to litigation, and in that litigation, it's alleged that I have a conflict of interest. While I dispute that, and I do not believe I have a conflict of interest, in an effort to put the concerns of our town before anything else, I'm going to step off the dais, but during my report, I'm going to address the lawsuit itself. So I'm going to step down off the dais and allow our council president, Brian McGovern, to take over this discussion. And I'll come back up for the late come updates.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to let you understand that this is a workshop discussion amongst the council. We will hear from the public at the end of the meeting during the public portion. So we are not going to entertain any questions. Please do not shout out if you hear something that you dislike or something that you do like. You will get your turn. This is what you elected us for, to discuss governing the town of Belmar, and that's what we're going to do right now. We don't want it deteriorating into a shouting match. So, for intelligent people up here, we're going to talk about something that has become very, very important in town, and it's the ordinance that we passed last January, and I'll let you know right here how I feel. I'm not necessarily pro-union or against non-union. What I'm very much in favor for is people that are doing our work know how to do the work, and that they are trained to do the work that we have hired them for. Like we have for our police department, they're trained. Our teachers, they're trained. Our fire department, they're trained how to do the work properly. So when we have a project in town, we want to make sure we have the best possibility of having that done correctly. And I believe that if we have a trained person do it, monitored by people that have experience, we're going to get a better product. Not all the council people feel that way. Not all the people in town feel that way. So that's why we're going to have this discussion. Right now, I'm going to ask council members how you feel about that ordinance that we passed last January. Jen?
The statements that you make, I agree with. I don't, my thoughts are that people without the apprenticeship are not that they're not qualified, but I think it's just assurance to make sure that we do get the best quality. And I think that's just peace of mind for the town and the money spent.
Jim?
I don't know why we're discussing this. This ordinance is already on the books. There was a petition put forward, and that petition gives this council two remedies. One, we strike the language, or two, we have a referendum. I don't know why we're up here discussing what our feelings are.
Well, it's very possible that discussing this situation, we could come to a compromise so that we don't spin our wheels and hold up projects that need to be done in Belmar by litigating it and taking for months. We don't know how long this would take. Might go to another referendum. Again, if we need a project, we want to make sure that we have something in place where we can take bids and get the work done. So to me, it makes a lot of sense for us to discuss this, since there is a problem has arisen.
Okay.
Let's not just throw it into the courts. Let's see if we can do it, see if we can come up with something that we can amend this ordinance somehow that's agreeable to everybody on the council, agreeing to you, so that we can move along.
I appreciate that, but, you know, one meeting ago, September 9th, we had this exact same discussion, and there was no talk of negotiation, there was no talk of listening to anybody else. It was, this is how we're doing it, and, you know, then a petition was brought forward, and that petition now gives this council two remedies. And the committee of petitioners hold, you know, they're the only ones you can negotiate with at this point if they want to withdraw their petition. But you didn't want to negotiate them back when you first introduced this in February, and you didn't want to negotiate with them last meeting. So the petition's done. I don't know what we're trying to, you know, and even if I said this is the greatest compromise in the world, it's out of my hands.
Well, if we discuss it right here, and we're probably not going to get anything settled tonight. But that's, you know.
But there's a date, October 21st. We have to give an answer whether we're doing to strike the language or we're going to come to a referendum. We have a date set already.
Well, we can contact those people that led the petition and see if they're agreeable to a compromise. It makes sense. I think, look at all these people out here sit. They don't want us to stand up here and refuse to move off our position. We're to the left, you're to the right. They want to see us move together and get this done.
But this was a month ago we should have been doing this, not tonight. This is after the petition's filed. This exact discussion should have happened one meeting ago. And it was on the agenda, we talked about it. And this discussion never came up.
Okay, now it is up, so now you don't want to discuss. Now you're putting yourself in the same position of a month ago. You don't want to discuss it. I think we can discuss it.
I'm powerless to
Okay.
change
All right.
what the committee of petitioners say. I mean, you talk with them. I get two choices. Do we strike the language or do we go for referendum? I say strike the language. That's the only decision I can make.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Councilwoman?
I think this is a good start, that maybe it's taken us a couple of weeks longer than some people would have liked, but it's a good start on trying to do a negotiation. Maybe we can come to a compromise and not go to referendum or totally strike the ordinance. I think the ordinance is important, along with what Brian said about quality of work. One of my fears is if you have unqualified people working on some of these projects, there's a good possibility or a better possibility of people being hurt on the job. That costs all of us extra time and extra money on the project, and that's a bad thing. Along with everything that I've said about this ordinance, I'm looking to the future also for your children or your grandchildren. Good jobs are hard to come by, and if they learn from qualified people in whatever trade they want to come in, and I think it's responsible for us to not only think about those of us who are 50 and 60 years old or a little bit younger, but to think about your children and your grandchildren along those lines. And I think this is a good start tonight, and we should continue this discussion and try to come up with some kind of compromise.
I agree. Again, when we do have a project in town, we want it done correctly. Jim, I remember you mentioned, I don't know if it was the last meeting or before that, it holds back the smaller company that does not have an apprentice program. What do you? I'm thinking if we amend it to $500,000 for a project, it wouldn't have to have the apprentice program prevailing wage. Now, we're talking about right now, these people are listening to us. When it comes to the public portion, they might hear something up here that they like, they can agree to it. I know some of the people that brought around the petition are out here in the audience. They might want to say, that's a fair compromise, we can do this. Again, as I said, I don't want to get into a position where Belmar can't get anything done because it's stuck in the courts somewhere, which, you know, when it comes to lawyers, no offense, they can drag this on for a long, long time. We have a tremendous amount of private development going on in Belmar, and we don't want to fall behind them. I mean, the way Belmar has been the last couple of years, I'm sure, has impacted the attitude, the positive attitude of these developers that come into Belmar and build these new homes and get these new businesses. So Jim, I'm going to throw it out to you. What if you want to strike the entire language? Can I get you off that a little bit and move you to a position where a project of $500,000 or less, they do not need an apprentice program paying prevailing wage?
I am not on the committee of petitioners.
But
I
what's
have
your
no
feeling? What's your feeling?
say-
What's your feeling?
It doesn't matter what I feel.
Okay.
You know, I'm sorry, Brian, this discussion happened a month ago at the last meeting. The petition has been filed. I mean, it's out of my hands.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's not enough, actually. Certainly, you have every piece of legislation, every law that we write is a work in progress. It evolves over time, they get amended, they get changed, et cetera. There's a petition that's filed, but that certainly doesn't preclude you as the policymakers from changing that particular law. You're the legislators. So if you wanted to change that law, you know, it's kind of, they're running on separate courses. You can change that law, that's not going to affect that petition. It might render that petition moot, depending on what action you take, but you shouldn't not discuss it just because there's a petition filed. That's,
You're stating that every time a petition's filed, we can just change one little thing in the law and it
no, I didn't say
violates
that.
the petition.
You're not changing it, you're discussing. And
That's-
there are many ways to do it, but you don't only have one avenue, or you said you only had two options.
Actually, there's
Certainly you can do
three.
that.
The committee of petitioners can remove the petition. Is that correct?
Sure.
Okay, well, I'm not a committee
But that's
person.
not your jurisdiction to do. Nobody's asking you to do that,
Well,
right?
yes, they are. He just asked me what I would do.
What's your opinion? Would you, as a councilman,
You know what?
would you want to move from the strike the whole ordinance to, all right, let's move it up to a threshold of a $500,000, a $500,000 project? To me, that's a big project. I don't know how many projects we have in town that are multi-million-dollar projects. And if we do have a multi-million-dollar project, I think you need a big company, and a big company is most likely going to have some type of an apprentice program.
Okay.
You know, when someone's building something, if it's I don't want to offend anybody in here, but let's say we have a job that has skills that aren't dangerous. Let's say like, nobody in here is a landscaper or anything, you know, landscaping the lake, or a job that might be putting up wallpaper or painting a room or something like that. But, you know, I can see them not having an apprentice program, how difficult it is to put down the grass seed or fertilizer or mixing the paint. But when you get a project where the construction company's going to be digging up a road, and we have the infrastructure underneath, the gas lines, the electric lines underneath, we don't want them making a mistake. We want a bigger company with the correct machinery, people that have experience in doing this kind of work. That's like a big project. So that's what I'm trying to get at right now, seeing if I can get you. I know you're upset that we didn't talk about.
I'm not upset.
Well, it sounds like you're upset. But let's see, tonight, maybe you said it should have been done, 3 weeks ago. But that's over. What about tonight?
Well, that's before the petition was filed. Once that legal document has been filed, it takes it out of our hands.
No.
Okay.
There's three options, am I incorrect? What are the three options that we have? The petition, the signers the committee petitioners can remove it. We can go to referendum, we can strike the language as the petition asks. What other options do we have?
Well, there are many, but this is a workshop discussion. I think I really wasn't in on all of this, but what's been proposed by the council
McGovern.
president,
McGovern.
Council President McGovern, is that would you, as a council person, a legislator, be in favor of an ordinance that would contain the language that he just proposed? If you are, there are many options that council then can then take, including rescinding the existing ordinance, introducing the new ordinance with the amended language, and moving forward.
Maybe we can sit down with the petitioners, because I don't want to do it in the room right here, because there's probably, for everybody in here, we all have different opinions. And so I think it'd be better if we sat down, but I want to, as I said before, I don't want to spin the wheels. I don't want to hold projects up and done while they need to be done, because it's stuck in court.
Okay. Council President, do you know what happens on October 21st?
Yeah, it goes to, we have to have the referendum.
No, we don't. The council has to decide whether we strike the language or we have the referendum. That happens on October 21st, just saying that. So maybe we should be discussing what road we're going to take here instead of hoping that they negotiate.
Unless we can,
I think that's what he's asking you to do.
He's asking if we're going to do the referendum or strike the language. Is that what he's asking?
No, he's asking you, what other language would you be amenable to? Because there are ways to do it. If you rescinded this ordinance, reintroduced a new ordinance with new language, that basically...
Well, then, let's take care of the petition, let's rescind the ordinance, and then we'll have this discussion
Well, you
going
can
forward.
take that position. I
Okay.
guess that-
That's what I suggest.
Jen?
I just want to make sure that you understand that it's two separate events, has nothing to do with the petition. It's whether or not you'd like to compromise and change the word
Well,
or discuss it as a council. It's not whether or not the petition, what happens on the 21st, it has to do with the language that's in place. Are you willing to change the petition, you talk about different options? That's all, not
yeah,
everything.
I understand that, but we're discussing this ordinance because of that petition.
Exactly.
Right, so let's solve the petition problem, and then we'll move forward.
Or we can discuss it now and see if we can be amenable to the people that brought the petition and with a compromise and see if we can avoid this litigation, which we don't know how long it will take. I mean, I think the people that voted for us want us to be responsible. I think this is a responsible decision now to try and compromise somewhere where we're stuck. You're on one end, and you're upset that it wasn't discussed earlier. Okay, I understand that. But now I think is the time to talk about this. I think, with all these people listening, we want to be professional. We want to bring ourselves to the people and show them that they can count on the council to do the right thing.
And the people brought you a petition signed with over 400 people, so do the right thing, strike the language, and then we'll have this discussion.
Borough Attorney, on the 21st, if we can come to a compromise here tonight in this discussion, in this workshop, on the 21st, can we come in, number one, rescind the present ordinance, and then as our next order of business, pass a new ordinance that came about with this discussion this evening?
Right. That's what I tried to say earlier, is that that's why it's not mutually exclusive. You can determine right now, okay, we're going to rescind that ordinance, but then if you're going to reintroduce a new one, you kind of want a consensus of where everyone's comfort zone is, and that's what I think is trying to be discussed. They're trying to discuss tonight. I don't,
You know what?
again, I don't have the background on it, so.
So this was presented to me in the last 20 minutes, this idea, and I'm all ears, willing to listen. I'm not going to give you an answer here at, 20 minutes of talking about it.
Well, in about an hour's time or so, when we go to public portion, I'm sure we're going to hear from the audience out here. Someone that might have signed the petition might come up and say, yeah, I kind of like that, having, instead of eliminating the smaller companies because they don't have an apprentice program, $500,000 project, I can live with that. Or maybe they might have a different threshold. Personally, I like training. It makes sense to me. as much as you talk, I can't see how it makes a project unaffordable. It may cost more money, but I think it might be worth it. It's not going to be millions of dollars more. It's not going to double the cost of the project. We're not going to have a company that has an apprentice program send all apprentices to do a project. It's going to be like an apprentice assigned to journeyman that they can learn from. And you pay an apprentice less money, but most of the people on the project are going to be journeymen that are being paid prevailing wage. So on a big project, I don't think it really comes down to putting it over the top where we can't afford it. Maybe for a smaller project, a company that doesn't have an apprentice program, all right, let's compromise. Let's say, all right, you don't have it, but let's see if we can come up with a dollar threshold for a project where some other wording that you can live with. So again, I want to keep it being tied up in the courts and going on and on, because whatever side wins, the other side, the side that loses, is probably going to appeal it. And then it's going to go on, it's going to go on and on. So let's do the responsible thing.
There's no court involved. I mean, petition is either referendum, vote, or strike the language. We have members of the petitioners here. Maybe they would like to speak. I don't know.
Jen, Councilwoman Nicolay, would you approve, let's say, a threshold of $500,000, striking the wording of the original ordinance, allowing a non-apprentice company bidding on it?
I think it's a good option. I'd like to open up to other options, which again, as part of council, I would hope we could discuss that. That's certainly an option.
Councilwoman Blackburn?
I think the proposal to put a dollar amount on the ordinance is an excellent idea. Maybe 500,000 is not the proper number. I think the four of us need to discuss what the proper number is, where we can come to a compromise. It will never be a happy compromise, but a compromise.
I'm sure we're going to hear at the public portion, and it's very possible that those people that were on the signing petition might be willing to sit down and talk about this, and so we can come up with something agreeable, so it doesn't have to go any further and tie us up. Because if we have projects that need to be done, we've got to get them done. So.
And Mr. Council President, I just wanted to point out, because I think there was some language from that before. Municipal entity, you were bound to award bids, not just lowest bidders, but lowest responsible bidder. Your ordinance is defining what is a responsible bidder, but there are also some other state, thresholds set by law above your grade pay here in Trenton that set other limits, but certainly the governing body can establish whatever it deems to be responsible there. That's always important, is because it's not just low bidder. Every contractor that deals with the governing body has to pay a prevailing wage anyway, so you can't get just anybody that's not going to pay prevailing wage. And there are many other requirements to.
Right. There's some wording in there that people don't like. Apprenticeship programs, prevailing wage.
Prevailing wage, that states.
But the people understand, prevailing wage for a carpenter might be different than a prevailing wage for an electrician or for a plumber. So there are different prevailing wages, and I'm sure competition through work, they're fairly competitive. Okay.
One quick.
Absolutely.
Come October 21st, we're going to have to make a decision.
Or we could come up to something else before that.
That's still some kind of decision. How are we going to notify the public of what that decision is? Like, are we gonna send out the code blue, or are we gonna have another council meeting? How do we know if this language is struck? How do we know if we have a referendum? How are we gonna get the information out? There are no more council meetings scheduled.
I'm gonna throw that to our clerk and administrator.
It would be advertised as a public meeting, it would be advertised on our website, our.
So we would have another meeting.
If we have another meeting.
So in other words, 14 days from now would be the October 15th, which would be before the 21st. So, you know, our meetings are generally 2 weeks apart, so that would be the normal time span for me, you know?
So
2 weeks from now.
So we'll know by then what we're gonna do.
Well, I don't know, I think it's important that we, you know, there's enough, like you said, there's 400 people signed the petition. That's a lot of people, you know, I have to listen to that. And I'm sure some of them have some very, very good points that we need to listen to and address. And if we can compromise it, and again, save ourselves from going to court and litigating it, I think that's the best route for us to do.
There really is no court. There's either strike the language, or we have a referendum. I mean, that's what the petition allows. Just
And then again, like a big problem for the referendum that we had in August was the cost. It's gonna cost the town, you know, thousands of dollars.
that's our choice. We can strike the language and avoid
I
that.
don't, well,
You certainly assume you choose to strike the ordinance. I think what the question is, what's your next step? Are you willing then to reintroduce another ordinance that has language? I think we're trying to find out where everybody's comfort level is on that.
My suggestion is talk to the committee of petitioners,
sounds good.
and then once that's decided, then I will look at other options.
Excellent, excellent. I mean, I think that's what these people out here voted us into office do, you know, have us, we don't agree, you know, on everything. The fact that we can come to a middle ground here is very, very important. So, like, and if we can do that, a project comes up, you know, we can get the work done and not fall behind, which, you know, especially during the winter, if we have something, some type of emergency or something like that, we want to be able to get that, you know, we don't want to be worrying about sending it out to bid with what kind of language is written into the contract. Okay. Did the petition spur this? Yeah, let's be reasonable, it did. But, you know, we're not taking that petition and saying, oh, this doesn't matter, we're gonna do it our way. You got our attention? Okay, let's move on to the next workshop. You know, I like it up here, you can stay there. You know?
The next item on our workshop is Lake Como updates. Our business administrator, Colin Colley, would you please give the council an update on where we are with Lake Como?
I'd be happy to. At our last meeting, we revisited our discussion on a drainage solution for Lake Como, revisiting our borough engineer's proposed designs. We saw that it's a challenging project, as we knew it would be, but the drainage solution would prevent flooding of private property during a 25-year storm. And just to refresh all of our memories, a 25-year storm is defined as 6.5 inches of rain in 24 hours. The engineer's estimate on this project was $6.1 million and came with a very complex permitting procedure, mainly from DEP, requiring permits for dam safety, green acres, land use, and Division of Water Quality, as well as the Army Corps of Engineers. So it's a very complicated permitting process. So the mayor instructed me and our engineer to initiate as much investigation as we could into how to pave the way for such a project. The mayor has issued letters to Assemblyman, rival Assemblyman Kane, Senator Singer, Commissioner Martin of the DEP, presenting the plan, essentially advancing that this is a direction that we would like to proceed, but we would need assistance in terms of permitting, fast-tracking permits, as well as identifying alternate sources of funding. The mayor also asked me to have conversations with the borough of Spring Lake and Lake Como, the BAs in those towns I talk to quite often, But we had specific conversations on this proposed design, both in terms of resources that might be available and other logistical factors. So I was very pleased that the Borough of Spring Lake is agreeable to discussing how to do a property easement that would allow us to have the pipe go directly out into the Atlantic Ocean under Borough of Spring Lake property. That saves us a great deal of pipe length as opposed to trying to stay purely on the Belmar land. So they are open to talking about that, and I'm very eager to help. I've had conversations with both Spring Lake and Lake Como that once we have a clear definition of final project costs, inclusive of any grants or funding that we're able to get through the state of New Jersey or other measures, that they would take to their mayor and council a conversation about cost sharing. So we did a lot of legwork since our last meeting. What we'd like to do at the mayor's request is to have a community meeting October 23rd. It's a Thursday night, 6 o'clock in the community room, specifically for the residents of the south of the town who are most impacted by this drainage situation. Have them come, get better informed about the measures that we're taking right now, and have a real conversation about costs. So we'll do a code blue on that and alert the residents in that area as well. But that would be October 23rd, 6 o'clock in the evening in the community room.
And we have a good amount of emails for the folks
Yes,
who
we do.
live in the area. If we could email them all exactly what you just talked about, including copies of the letters that were sent. Maybe it'd be helpful for them as well, with firsthand experience to the members of the Senate and General Assembly.
We need no shortage of advocates for this project.
Any questions from council on
Colleen, you mentioned cost sharing. I imagine we're going to approach Spring Lake and Lake Como, and I'm sure they're going to say it's not our problem. Spring Lake Heights and Wall Township, that most of that water comes from, you're going to say not our problem. So what are your feelings that the county or the state can help us? Because that $6 million on the town of Belmar is a lot of money.
It absolutely is, and I do have to say, on behalf of our sister towns on our borders, that has not been the reaction that I've gotten from them, that they understand there's a cost, that they understand there's a benefit that benefits everybody who surrounds that lake.
It would benefit them also for having this project in place.
So I was very encouraged by the conversations that I had with my colleagues. I agree with you though on those statements.
Because if we don't flood,
right,
then they don't flood.
True. Very true.
So they might see that as a reason for helping us out, contributing some of the sharing of the cost. And I think the county helped pay for the rec pond pipe years ago. Again, Spring Lake must understand how they suffer, again, all that water coming in from Wall Township.
I think that this ultimate design is going to require some creative partnerships. And so whereas the county may or may not come forward with funds, they may assist with something like spot dredging, which would help to deepen the lake and make it a healthier, more vibrant lake.
Right.
I believe that many of the challenges we experienced over these last 2 years that I've been here in pursuing funding came from the fact that ownership had not been settled and that the dam classification had not been settled. So there were these big questions hanging over the project that frankly, when you're looking at funding sources, people didn't know who they would be awarding the money to. They didn't understand, there were a lot of prohibitive questions that have now been answered. So I have high hope that this outreach that the mayor is doing to the state and to our elected officials will guide us to a solution. Now that ownership has been settled, we're talking about a design on Belmar property with an easement from Spring Lake. And we now know the dam classification. So again, not an easy regulatory path to follow, and I don't think anybody expected it to be easy, but it's much clearer what that path would entail than it did a year ago.
This code blue is going to go out to the whole town, not just that section, correct?
take
everybody,
advice from council, I intend to
No,
reduce
probably
that.
there's just a section that's directly impacted by the flood.
but everybody's paying for it, just like everybody's paying for the Silver Lake project. So probably other people that are gonna be paying the bill should show up and hear what's being proposed.
Well, when we talk about Silver Lake, we just had folks from around Silver Lake there.
That was wrong.
Whole town-wide meeting on it, I don't think we can practically do that.
Okay, I'm just figuring that people, paying the bill should all be able to come if they wanted to.
Well, I know, we'll let folks know what transpires, but I would say this is for the folks that live in the area that are impacted by the flooding.
Could you please speak into the microphone?
The meeting that Colleen Conley's talking about is one for the folks who live in that area, who have taken a significant interest in this and, are directly impacted by flooding. Many of them are not only raising their homes and making significant improvements. I mean, there's millions of dollars of private investment going on there, and, we want to mitigate against future hazards for them. I understand that the whole town will be included, just as we represent the whole town. However, trying to do a small community meeting with the whole town doesn't make any sense. It's just not practical. Any other questions or comments on the come up things? All right, any other items for workshop discussion? No? All right. Any petitions from the audience? You want to certify your petition?
On September 9, 2014, I received an initiative petition for ordinance 2014-01 from a committee of petitioners consisting of George Santos, Platsis, Fred Marziano, Kimberly Patterson, and Patricia Correa. Pursuant to NJSA 40:69A:187, I reviewed the petitions and hereby certify to the council that the petitions are sufficient. The council has 20 days from today's date to hold a second reading and public hearing on the ordinance. If action is not taken on or before October 21st, 2014, this matter will be submitted to the voters unless the petition is withdrawn by the petitioner.
Thank you. I also want to just put on the record, I received a petition from some homeowners regarding a certain property at 105 17th Avenue. 103. 103, thank you. I just wanted to say I recognize that publicly that was received, it's being acted on. We already had one community meeting. Someone was nice enough to open up their home for, and we'll have a second follow-up as well. Regarding this topic, I've been in touch with both Senator Singer and Senator Rival because it's beyond the scope of Belmar when it comes to regulating what may or may not be happening with that property. For both Lake Como updates, if anyone has specific questions later, Colleen will stick around, and for the property on 17th, I'll stick around as well at the end of the meeting, which about an hour or so. Next are reports. Mayor, Council. Council President Brian McGowan.
Okay, luckily, I really don't have much to report. The only thing, I have the final beach numbers, which I didn't have at the last meeting for parking from the meters. We brought in just over $126,000 from parking, which brings our total for the beach receipts for the year to $3,184,491.10. Don't know where the 10 cents came from. Okay, but that's my report.
Thank you. Councilwoman Keelback.
Along with it being a Breast Cancer Awareness Month, it's also Depression Awareness Month in October. We had our health fair this past Sunday. We didn't have lots and lots of people come. It was 80+ degrees, so I'm sure a lot of people were on the beach. You were having a good time, I hope, and I was disappointed to be inside. But on a good note, 49 people registered to give blood. They received 42 units of blood. 43 Flu shots were given, and the Council of Churches here in Belmar, for their food banks, received over 100 items of food. So I thought that was very, very successful. I want to thank everybody that did come, everyone, all the participants. I especially want to thank the police for their help. And there is no way to say thank you to Mike Campbell and his DPW, especially George and Sean, who were there from 7:30 in the morning until after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So thank you to George and Sean especially. The Belmar Women's Club, the Historical Society, and the library have developed a cookbook. The cookbook launch will be this Saturday in the community room from 12 to 2. There will be food samplings, and please come to the community room and have a very light lunch. CERT team training has started again. We just had an informational meeting this past Monday, 2 nights ago, at the First Aid Squad. Franny Hines, who works for DPW, is in charge of this. If you're interested in taking the CERT training, it's 8 weeks long, 2 hours a night. We're going to start meeting at 6:30 in the First Aid Squad, starting this coming Monday. If you're interested, please contact Franny at DPW. And last but not least on mine, I just drove past McCleary Park this evening, coming down to check on the progress of our new playground. This week has kind of slowed the guys down a little bit with the mist and the drizzle and the rain and the muck out there. They've not been able to do a lot of work, but it is coming along. It looks like an airplane and it looks like a control tower, so again, I'm very excited. As soon as they are finished and we have a date for the grand opening and the ribbon cutting, we will let you know. We can't just schedule it. The family is going to be flying in for our ribbon cutting. So again, I want to thank the family of Mr. Brown, and I'm excited. And thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Meade.
I wrote down what I wanted to say because I don't want to miss anything. You know, my time as councilman is winding down, and believe it or not, I've actually enjoyed my 3 years serving as councilman, and it's been very, very interesting. And I think everybody here knows my situation on this council, and with the storm and everything that happened, and it was especially challenging. I'm just so glad that fate put me here in time and place that I could do the job that I felt needed to be done. But going forward, I'd like to say that I think we'd be a lot more effective at doing the work we were put here to do if we simply treated each other as equals. And I'd like to see a council where not only is not every member allowed to fully understand and participate in what we do here, but is expected to. And I thought Councilman McGovern did a very good job. I thought a little bit too late, but during his workshop session that he actually asked and wanted input. Some of my examples of how we weren't treated equal is me having to over-request a bunch of documents, I couldn't get them. I couldn't have a one-on-one with the CFO during budget times. And we've had no executive sessions about lawsuits or anything. That's just some examples. But it's not just that we have to listen to each other. I think the most important thing is that we listen to the people. And that's what we're here for. And I pride myself on not having to look at, there's Democratic people, Republican people, or opposition and supporters, whatever tag you want to put them on, and divide these people into groups. Personally, I would love to get rid of the whole partisan system in Belmar anyways. That's just me. That way, you don't have allegiances right off the bat. You know, I knock on your door, I know that you're not with me. Or that's why I still knock on your door, because I don't really believe in that stuff. And I think anyone who takes the trouble to come out here and speak to us should be treated as an individual who deserves our respect and has an equal stake in what goes on here, and an equal voice and equal right to have their questions answered. I think if we did that, if we were a bit more humble and understood that not all the answers come from up here, but that a lot of them come from down there, we wouldn't see the frustration that is eventually expressed in petitions, lawsuits, and referendums. Yes, we are elected to lead, but we need to make sure that where we're leading is where the people want to go. And I think it's pretty clear from the results of August's referendum that we're not listening very well to the people. But going forward, I consider you all my equal, you know, my councilman, and I respect what you all say. So that's all I have there. Thank you.
Just want to start with some events. The townwide bonfire will be October 18th on 2nd Avenue from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. There'll be a hot dog buffet, fancy hot dog station. S'mores, music, and Ghostbusters will be shown after dark. Touch a Truck is on November 1st on Ocean Ave between 8th and 10th Avenue from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Some projects, the dredging of the inlet. I want to thank Frank Pallone. The Army Corps of Engineers will be dredging the inner channel of the Shark River Inlet starting Monday, October 6th. Work will be done from Ocean Avenue Bridge just up to where the slips start in the marina. It's a great project. It may be loud at times, and it'll take approximately 2 months. Streetscape, our grant with NJEDA of $972,000 has progressed through environmental review with NJDEP. We will start design and plan to work in early spring. The project will go from 10th to 5th Avenues and include pavers, lamp poles, etc. Boardwalk, FYI, we're continuing to winterize the boardwalk. Bathroom trailers are being removed. 10th Avenue will remain open through October. It's been a long day. Just touched on a couple of things with DPW. They're removing the beach lockers. I hope everybody took their stuff out of the lockers. 16th and 19th Avenue bathrooms have been removed. They're doing striping on the roads and the curbs. Thank you very much for doing the bulk pickup. I thought the townwide garage sale went really well. I made about 12 cents. Potholes have been filled. As of just this week, they've used up 5 tons of asphalt. Street sweeping has been continuing and will be active weather permitting. Leaf pickup will start soon. Brush pickup repeated next Monday and Tuesday. Yes, with regards to Breast Cancer Awareness Month, last year, as many of you know, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and please get your mammograms because it saved my life and they're important.
One thing I do want to mention that Councilman Bean touched upon was meeting with the CFO and the business administrator. When the budget gets developed, department heads submit their numbers, what they want to do for the year, and then all of us, every one of us, has an opportunity to sit down, and they sit down together. The reason why is the BA is in charge of the spending, and the CFO is in charge of making sure that the money is there that we like to spend. So every member of the council, including myself, sit with them both at the same time. It makes the most sense. And also, it's much more efficient to do that since you're talking about spending items in the budget. So everyone on this day is treated equally, whether they feel it or not. Next, I do want to, as I mentioned before, I had to step off the dais because it's been alleged that I have a conflict of interest. I adamantly deny any conflict of interest. There is none. But because I want to put the interest of the people first ahead of anything else, I felt it was important to step down off the dais for that. The lawsuit was, I guess, filed recently. Our attorneys are working on a brief to dismiss, and also we're working on clarification from the Election Law Enforcement Commission because of just how outrageously political this lawsuit is. It's pretty much over the top. It regurgitates verbatim some of the things said last year that were alleged, that were proven multiple times not to be true, going all the way to the Attorney General's office, stating that the case was closed because it just wasn't true. Now, looking through this, there was also a tremendous amount of, how do you say this delicately? Statements that are simply not true. Not a matter of opinion, but a matter of fact that are not true. I'll just give you one, just because it's pretty simple and it's kind of silly at the same time. One of the things alleged in the lawsuit is that our business administrator, Colleen Connolly, was roommates in college with my wife, Maggie Moran. Not that that would matter, but the fact is, they weren't roommates. And I would encourage everyone in this town to read through this lawsuit, because I think you'll come to the same conclusion I come to, of just how over the top this is. I can't think of any elected official that has had his wife in the crosshairs of political attacks as I have, simply because she has a job and is successful. So I'd encourage everyone to read it. The second part of this that seems to be very political is the one of the lead plaintiffs is actually the campaign manager for Councilman Bean and his running mate. And she, in addition, contributed to the lawsuit. And lastly, and I think this is very important for everyone to know, all of us taxpayers, when a lawsuit's filed, it costs us money. Even if it's as frivolous as what I have in my left hand, we still have to pay an attorney to write a dismissal, they have to answer it, it's got to go to court, we got to pay them to go to court outside of all this time, so there's an expense to it. But it actually could get worse. It could get worse because in this case, the attorney, Ken Pringle, is asking the court to award them attorney fees. So in other words, the attorney who's suing us, Ken Pringle, is looking for all of us, the taxpayers, to pay his legal fees. Now, it's absolutely ridiculous that the taxpayers should have to pay not only for our attorneys, but for the folks who are suing their own town. I think it's important for everyone to know.
That's if he wins, correct?
It doesn't say win or lose, it just says plaintiffs ask this court to award them reasonable fees.
So if he loses, then he's not gonna pay anything.
All right, so just so we have this on the record, Councilman Bean, you think it's okay for the taxpayers of the Borough of Belmar to pay Ken Pringle's attorney fees?
No, Mayor, I was just stating that if